We meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibilities to the past and to the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings in all our deliberations and all of our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everyone to our February 6th council meeting. Roll call, I guess.
Mrs. Lingo?
Here.
Mr. Parsons?
Here.
Mr. Redding?
Here.
Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, everybody was present and accounted for. Thank you. You have the minutes before you in your packet for the January 16th meeting. There's a lot of typing in. Does anybody have any corrections or alterations or that they see that need to be corrected? If not, I would ask for a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
Okay, Mr. Young has made a motion to accept. Do I have a second? Ms. Rissel has made a motion for a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Correspondence, you have a number of things at your desk tonight. I'm not going to read them all through, but one of them that's important is the December 2023 Police Department report to the city manager and the 2023 bias-based racial profiling annual report. Tree Commission, you have in front of you end of year EMS report, Police Department report for the January of 2024. And also very important is the Ohio Ethics Commission filing reminder. You don't want to forget to do that. Does anybody else have any correspondence to bring up forward? Okay, we have no guests and special events, I don't think, do we, sir? Okay. Public input. Time in council where we take and ask anybody who wishes to address council to come forward. Roger Bruckner. Come on up to the podium if you would, sir, and give us your name and address, please.
So Mr. Bruckner is another prime candidate for us to vacate an alley. I'll kind of let him tell the story, but in general, he's 7367 Bernard. There's an alley that kind of used to lead into what used to be there. Was that Rex Route or Duval? Yeah, Duval behind it, so.
Basically, it's a property that, Scott, I know you've been here forever, Paul. It was Pleasant Street that was never put in. Mm-hmm. Same way as St. Clair down at the bottom of Bernard. I want to get a shed from a place called Miller Barnes, already built, and I've been there 42 years, been on the same street 77 years, and I've maintained it with the gravel, cutting the grass and everything, and I would just like to use the property or whatever, and that's basically what
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're making a request, and there's a procedure that we go through. The administration could help you with that.
Scott already, and he told me to be here for this and
Yeah.
see what goes on.
Yeah, we just got to make sure there's no utilities, which you probably know there isn't. But we have to check and make sure that,
The only thing there's a manway that's on the property, a manhole that's on the property of what used to be Devolve with his thing. And I believe there's some small pipe that goes up through, but I don't think there's no problem with it. It's not a permanent structure. It will be
Yeah,
on skids, and so if it has to be moved, it can be moved.
yeah.
So in general, we've done a lot of the due diligence. We still have to get a survey, all that stuff. But I confirmed with Mr. Knight that there's been no high grass or any issues with, Mr. Bruckner definitely takes care of his property, same with his neighbor. So I think it would be a prime candidate. So I think when we did this with Mr. Bays, I think just looking for a thumbs up that we can continue the process, because eventually I'll present an ordinance that that the county will split the property and go between the two neighbors. So as
I've
long as
discussed it with my neighbor and told him what was going on, and then just, he's all good with it too, so.
Okay. So, I talked with Gordon, and the only issue he could see potentially is if they ever did more construction back there, more development, that you would kind of lose a potential additional access to that property. I feel like that seems like a rare instance, especially when we have
Well,
a
like I
resident
said,
that already
after-
takes care of the property.
After 77 years of when Pleasant Street, when you guys widened Bernard, so in 77 years, if they haven't done nothing with it, I don't think they probably will. I'd be more thinking that St. Clair would be put through all the way to Clovernook or something, but then that's a lot of money to
Yeah,
where St. Clair ends.
and we don't need the traffic going through there anyway.
No. So that's basically it, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
questions, anybody, council, Mr. Redding?
So this is the property, I'm sorry, Mr. Ruckner. This is the property that's right across the creek from St. Clair.
Well, no, I'm on top of Bernard.
You're at the top of Bernard, so you're at the one where the old first ball field was, down there by the school. Yeah, okay.
The ball fields were all the way to the end of the property when the ball had it.
Yes,
But there's, that property, my property's 201 deep. And
Okay.
if that's my property, this is not what I'm after. The piece of property I'm interested in is just adjacent to my property.
right.
On the line. Like I
Okay.
said, they've never done nothing with it, and my neighbor and I have maintained it with gravel, keeping the grass. cut
Okay,
and
yeah.
everything, so-
So you're more at the top of the hill, okay.
Yeah, right at
Yes,
the top, just as it starts to break.
okay, all right, yep,
Probably if you find somewhere, Pleasant Street was a street that never happened.
yep.
Paper out. or
No, I played a bunch of ball down there, so growing up, so I know where you're talking about.
So I'll get the ball rolling and the ordinance prepared and get the survey done, and hopefully then within the next couple meetings have that presented.
Is that all right with council?
And this is going to be split between the neighbors?
You have to. You have to.
Okay, that, I just want to make sure he's aware of that.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else would like to address council tonight? Yes, sir, come on up to the podium, give us your name and address, please.
My name's George Beckett. I live at 7313 Harding Avenue. I presently rent the property from Deb and Randy. Been there for 4 years, and I am in the process of purchasing that property. Love the house. On the other hand, I know it doesn't mean a hill of beans to you people whether I buy the house or somebody else buys the house. The streets back there are horrible. I mean, it's almost like I'm afraid to drive my car on it because it's going to do damage to my car. Now, I know in the past they have sent somebody out to maybe patch, but it just makes it worse. I don't know what's on the agenda about getting streets, back there redone or the whole bit, but I'd like to bring it to somebody's attention.
We're aware of it.
Is Harding off of Stevens or is it off of Kenny?
Stevens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there are huge potholes back there. I'm hoping that, when I do, the only reason why I'm here is because I am purchasing the property. And I want to see that those streets are taken care of, and if they're not, then I'm not going to buy the property. Like I said, I know it doesn't mean anything to you people, whether I buy it or somebody else buys it.
Well, it does.
But, according to Deb and Randy, who do own the property, they said that, or Deb has told me that there has never been any work done on those streets back there in the past 10 years.
Oh, 20 or 30 at least.
Okay.
Mine either.
I know that they pay their taxes just as well as everybody else back there does, okay? But something needs to be done with those streets.
Can't argue the point with you at all. You're correct.
I mean, is there anything in the process or?
Administration, do we have those?
In general, it's pretty far down the list of street priorities for getting redone, frankly. We have 3 in front, Warner Avenue, Joseph Street, and Hickman. Those are pretty much our next 3 priorities. I mean, we do pothole, but as far as reconstructing a street or repaving, those are the next 3 priorities. And in general, we do about a street a year.
Okay, so where is all the taxpayers' money going? Where's all the money going?
Well, it cost
I
us
mean-
well over $1 million to do each street.
Okay, but that's not my problem.
I know it's not.
Okay, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
Now, I know that where my sister lives, that they had an assessment done to everybody's taxes back there, where, you know, they pay, I don't know, $300 or $400 more every 6 months or whatever, but it was all done. Have you guys ever thought of doing that, or?
Not that I'm aware.
Almost like you're looking at me like I'm an idiot, but, you know, I don't understand it. I just,
If
you
I,
know.
sir, you were up here at City Hall the other day, and so I went and drove on your street today.
Yes.
And your street is not in great shape, but I hate to tell you, there are streets in worse shape. I did not see any big potholes on your street, and if you do have them, you need to call and they'll fill them. We have a street called Hickman Street, and if you ever drive on that, you could probably lose your wheel.
Okay, so then why isn't something being done
Well,
about
it is being done. The problem is the cost of streets, and I'm not an expert on this. Other people have worked on this with the streets. It's outrageous, and small cities like ours are not getting the revenue that we think we deserve. And with
No,
the
I
property
you
tax,
explain
and
that to me,
the
I
property
understand.
taxes that just went up, sir, I'm wondering myself, what are small cities supposed to do when they're trying to upkeep for the residents like you, sir? I totally agree with your frustration.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett, and we'll try to get, we'll try to take care of it as best we can. Anybody else who would like to address council? Okay, then we'll move on to the mayor's report. Ms. Moody.
Okay, I've got a number of things here. First of all, I know there's been a lot of talk, people upset with the property tax bills that came. Mine went up pretty significantly. And I just want to let you know that I called. Our rep here is Cindy Abrams. Our senator is Catherine Ingram. In my opinion, I think it all behooves us that we're elected and appointed to call and at least make a comment on how this was done. There is a Facebook page right now, Hamilton County, Ohio Homeowners Group. They've become very active. I think they were down at the commissioners' meeting last week. From what I gather, this was supposed to be handled through the state legislature. It was started in the fall but never completed effectively. They hired a company from the east that came in and just took property sales and values from 2022, did not do a 3-year average, and we were hit with some high bills. From what I gather, the residential property is what got hit. Commercial property was not hit as much. And so there are a lot of people complaining right now, a lot of people upset. I don't blame them. So I think if people want to complain, I mean, you could put some pressure on your Hamilton County commissioners and the auditor here, but in the county, but really this lies with our state reps. So I think if you can take a little time and call your state reps, it's easy to find the phone number. It would behoove you maybe to call and complain about the unfairness. You know, with the way these tax bills have come out, and to expect people in 2 weeks to pay the amount that went up, and then they'll work with you for a fee, and then you're always going to be behind. And then for small cities like us and for the gentleman here that's frustrated about his street, it just compounds our problem here in small cities. We don't know how much money we're going to get from all of that. We don't know where it's all going to go. So there's a lot of frustration out there. So if you can, I would contact your rep, Cindy Abrams, who I think is running unopposed this time, and Senator Catherine Ingram. And when I called, we've still got the blame game going on with political parties, and I'm tired of the blame game. Let's just get it done. So that's what I'm going to say for that. All right, now, the next thing is you're going to have on your desk, you've got a Civil Service Commission appointment. The Civil Service Commission, the person who was in charge of that previously, Terry Todd, has stepped down from that position, so James Wolf has agreed to head that up. And you have to make sure you have a balance between your political parties, so you have 3 names there. You have Republican representation and Democratic representation, so if you can tonight, I'd appreciate if you could pass those appointments. Planning Commission, I've still got one person I'm trying to get a hold of, don't have a phone number. I did speak to one of our Planning Commission members who wanted to express frustration that when it comes to them that they're supposed to, give a variance, that when they give the variance, there's been no code enforcement with that variance. So a couple of variances that they've given in the past, people are not doing what they're supposed to do with the variance. Which leads me to a meeting that Scott and I had with Bill Knight, and Paul Young was present, talking about some of the issues we're having that we've continually had in the city, and one being code enforcement. He thinks that, and when we talked with him about what his job is, it's pretty overwhelming for the amount of time that we're paying him. And in other municipalities, small cities like ours, they are getting money, and he believes it's from the Port Authority. We thought maybe it was going to come through the county. So we're going to be looking at additional funding to help us with code enforcement, which leads me to something else that we've had a lot of concern about. A lot of people are complaining about the trash situation. The trash is pretty much, everybody is concerned with trash all over this country and, all over Hamilton County. One of the issues, again, is the code enforcement. And I would like to reach out to everybody here that if you can pick up the trash in your front yard and bring your garbage cans in within the week, at least a few days after they've been emptied, I think we all need to do that as our part, because we're finding people that are just leaving garbage cans out week to week, garbage that's out right in front of their yards. And I think it just, if we can pick up trash in our front yards, which is an ongoing basis. I live right down from Speedway. And Bill Knight has already issued a letter to the Speedway Regional Company about their lack of taking care of the property. These are some of the issues I think that we need to look at, and also I'm glad Mr. Solman's here tonight because we do have a couple ordinances that we probably need to clean up that could help us address some of the issues we have. Okay, let's see what else I've got here. Not too much more. Metro Now's coming tomorrow to the library, the little van. The police chief is working with us so that the alley there between Hilltop Glass and the library will be closed off from 10 to 12 so people can visit that Metro Now van. It's been extremely popular. They're expanding it in the county. It's like a personal Uber. I mean, it's a van, but I believe now instead of $2 one way, it's now $4 one way. And they're trying to expand this all over Hamilton County. They will be there tomorrow. Citizens can come, walk in the van, talk to them about the availability of the transportation they provide. We also had people commenting about what happened to the volunteer cleanup group we used to have. We used to have a volunteer cleanup group that would go out once a month. The city would pay for donuts and coffee. They'd meet at the coffee shop. So we're looking at maybe through Third Century, the CDC sponsoring a cleanup crew, a cleanup once a month. We had one business person, new business person in town contact the city and wanted to know if they could get paid to pick up the trash in the alley. Can't do that. But we do recognize the frustration with the trash. And I think, and we are, Scott and I are working on a grant through the county. It's called an events grant. We've never applied for it before. I think we can get it. It's up to $25,000. We're going to be looking for applying. That deadline is February the 16th. Would be looking for financing all of the July 3rd event. And we're also looking at the skating rink maybe for the December event. This would be paid for by the county. This would not be then part of what would have to be in our budget. We also have a college graduate in town that just got a degree and is going to be volunteering with us in trying to help us get some of these grants completed. Grants take a lot of money, or a lot of time, I'm sorry, and usually municipalities pay somebody to do this. We don't have that in our budget. And so just having someone who just got that degree, lives in town, and would help us with the writing of these grants would hopefully be helpful for us. And I got a call from Healthcare Connections Consultant. They wanted to know anything, they're doing an overview of how Healthcare Connections is doing in our community and what more they can do, and just talked to the lady. Very good conversation, just gave her some input that I had heard from people that they don't, I had heard that people really don't know all the services that Healthcare Connection provides, and it would be nice to get that out to the community. So if there's anything that you would like Healthcare Connections to know, please let me know, and then I've got the contact person. And that's it.
Thank you, Mayor. Questions for the mayor, anybody?
Just one, concerning Healthcare Connections. It has been a while since we heard from them. Could your contact maybe come up and just update the city on
Yeah,
exactly what's going on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I had told the consultant, that we really don't have a whole lot of information that we can pass on to residents about, and I know that they only take people that have insurance. I thought they took people that, they do have a sliding scale, but my experience with the person that, I had a Ukrainian woman live with me for 9.5 months, and we went down there for some help. And it was kind of limited what she was able to get, so I had to take her to the public health department in Cincinnati to get a TB test and things. So that was some of my conversation, is like, can you give us information on what you're able to provide and what you're not able to provide, so people know where they can go for some of this health care help. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, moving on to the city manager's report. Mr. Bauer.
See, I sent my report out on Friday. I'll kind of go over the items that have changed here. Union negotiations for the full-time fire department members. We last had mediation on January 19th. We still have wages and time off open, which is usually the biggest items in a contract. But we didn't reach resolution on those, so fact-finding has been set for March 5th. It usually takes about 2 weeks for the report to get out, so I'll put together sort of a position, they call it a position paper, where you kind of say how and why you come up with your proposal, and they will do the same, and then a fact finder will find some midpoint, so we'll see how that goes. I did update the staffing chart here. Those are good numbers now. Obviously, still have to figure out for 2024, but 2022 and 23 should be good. For Public Works, we did lose one guy. He became actually the Public Works Director at NCH, so good to have a contact there now. But he moved on, and he was, we got a replacement starting just last Monday. That's Andrew, so happy to have him. There's been some updates to the road work. We'll have the pre-construction meeting for both Harrison and the Forest Madison projects next Thursday. Forest Madison, we went with Neiman to do the work. That was determined last week, but we'll have the construction meetings next week and hopefully get some timelines for when they'll start breaking ground. Let's see. The library has submitted permits. Those are currently under review. Finance, we are transitioning to ADP. I'm sure Melanie's been hitting people up to get registered and all that. Make sure you're taking care of that. We've got our next price for the gas aggregation. Check that out. Grants, I think I've updated this since the last report that I put out. I'll add the events grant to the list for the next meeting. One that Chief Lawson brought to me today is an EMS grant. It's up to 25 grand just for basic equipment. We've applied for that and typically have gotten it in the past. I think that's pretty much it. I have on my list of things to do for this year is we're going to try to review the fee schedule for what we charge for high grass and weeds and trash, but also for police citations and building permits, stuff like that. So that'll kind of be in the works over the next month or so. That's all that I have.
Okay, questions? No questions, council? Okay, we have no readings, no second readings on ordinances or resolution.
You got
We have a
department
first
report.
reading on a resolution.
We have a
Police report.
Got Police chief.
I'm sorry, Chief.
You guys are good, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, we have the Police Department report with Chief Jerry Deisenheimer.
Yeah, I gave you guys a lot of reports regarding the bias-based racial profiling annual report. That's required for you as our part of the Ohio Collaborative to satisfy us, Mount Healthy, being recognized as part of the Ohio Collaborative. That's one of 10 criteria that's needed. So we do that every year. It's consistent with 2022 as well as 2021. If you have questions on that, I can certainly go over it in detail, but kind of it is what it is. Also, I gave you the December 2023 report and the January 2024 report. I guess the coolest thing is we are actually going to get a new striping on our newest vehicle. That's still we just got. So if you take a look at that, I don't know if it's a clear picture, but it's going to say police on the side. It's going to be a little more than what we have right now. One of our guys, Matt Grimm, he actually designed it. It was kind of a vote, and everybody kind of green-lighted it. So Sign Effects down in North College Hill will be striping that hopefully next week. So kind of a little more visibility. On the back of it will be the chevrons, reflective chevrons for safety concerns when on nighttime traffic stops. So I think it's a good change. I put together a kind of a quick snapshot of 2020 all the way through 2023. It kind of summarizes everything regarding citations and traffic contacts, as well as I know Mr. Parsons had a question when I was here last time regarding what is actually dispatched versus what the actual call entails. So I actually went and did charges for the from 2020 through 2023. I think it creates paints a better picture of what actually is getting charged in the crimes that are actually happening in Mount Healthy. So even though something that may be dispatched as a aggravated robbery, it really turns out to be a trespassing. So this kind of gives an accurate picture of what's been happening over the last 4 years. Total charges, we were down approximately 30% from 2022 to 2023. Total calls for service went up slightly. And one of the questions were, how were the calls for service at Clovernook? Looks like from 2022 to 2023, we were down approximately 20% for calls for service at Clovernook Apartments. That goes with extra patrols and everything like that, as well as the commitment from the management company as far as dealing with issues and problem tenants. Let's see. I know there's questions regarding court and court revenues. This time last year, court revenues for the end of January, beginning of February, was a little over $10,000. At this point, just checking today, we were at close to $16,500. So court revenues, court fees collected are up significantly. The only other thing is we were able to finally complete our door access project where everybody got key fobs, and once this thing gets going, we can designate times when the doors will automatically locked. We can set up schedules for council meetings, court, holidays, things like that. So I think we have a more secured facility. That's all I really got. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Okay, questions? Mr. Redding?
Just one. I saw on Crime Stoppers today, so hopefully I don't have to say any more, but has the suspect been apprehended or?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. That situation, long story short, it was a domestic violence situation, confirmed domestic violence situation. The subject did shoot off a round in the air, went back in the house, but escaped out the back. Our officers weren't sure, so we exercised caution. We called in additional units as well as Blue Ash's drone unit to come in and do a search of the house to see if he was in there. It was confirmed that he wasn't. Our officers went in and cleared it. So right now we have 2 confirmed warrants out for the individual, one for domestic violence and strangulation. Now everybody thinks the strangulation one is, there's been a lot of changes in the law regarding criteria for strangulation, and it relates back to domestic violence, and it ups the severity of a domestic violence charge if somebody actually grabs somebody by the throat, so the charge was absolutely warranted. The subject's still at large. We believe he is over in the Coleraine area, and we are working with our SoFast unit to see if we can assist us in apprehension.
So I guess when did that happen? Was that in the evening, daytime?
About 10 o'clock at night.
Okay, and my only concern is the early learning center.
Yeah.
So my next question is, if that was a daytime event, is that a lockdown situation?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And the first thing this morning, around 5 o'clock this morning, I called Herb Dorsey. I woke him up and said, hey, everything's good. And he just said, thank you, because that was the
Okay.
first question regarding, was the early learning center, was everything fine over there? We do have protocol as far as when that stuff happens to make contact with the school administration, whether it be even the Assumption Daycare Facility or Mount Healthy Schools on those type of situations for lockdown. When we were doing a warrant service a couple weeks ago, we called the school and said, hey, this is what's gonna happen. And they were able to put the school on a kind of a soft lockdown, that type of thing. So
Okay.
we do new notifications.
Great, thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Was that on Clovernook Apartments or on the south side of
It was on
Compton?
Clovernook Apartments.
In the apartments, okay.
Anybody else have any questions for the chief?
Woke up to that news this morning.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now we go to the ordinances and resolutions. Melanie, do you have anything?
I do not.
I used to skip you all the time, so we have don't have any second readings. We have no first reading on an ordinance, and we have a first reading on a resolution, which is to follow the executive session. So we will come back from our executive session, and instead of closing out the meeting, we will open the meeting back up for voting on the executive resolution.
Yeah, before we go.
Is that right?
Sorry, I did not hear you. It's having a side conversation. So I think we do old and new business first, and then
Well,
we
yeah.
would make the motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Old business. Besides me. No old business, council? New business.
Should we talk about that Civil Service Commission yet?
We should vote on that.
Thank you, Cordell.
Good job, Cordell, picking it up.
Just one, I'm sorry, one question, Ross. We have the one resolution, should we at least read it for the first reading?
Can't we do
Doing
that
that
after
when
we
we
come
come
back
back.
from
No,
executive?
we can do
After
that
our
after, okay, all right.
Okay, we have three names that the mayor has given us for the Civil Service Commission. And James Wolf, Mary Ann Shank, and Deborah York. Who's that James Wolf? Okay, questions or comments, council?
Do you mind if we put this off till the next meeting?
No, I don't mind.
Okay, thank you.
We don't have
I'm
any,
sorry.
anything scheduled with civil service, so.
It's only 2 weeks, yeah.
Is that what you wish, put it off till next meeting? Okay, we will put that off to the next meeting, the Civil Service Commission. Any other new business? Then I would need to ask somebody to make a motion to move into executive session. There's a copy of it on the back page of your,
You can basically just read.
what's on the agenda, back page of the agenda.
Employment, to discuss employment and compensation.
Before we move on, is there anybody here to talk about the tree commission? Okay, I'm sorry. You should have spoke up. Wonderful. I didn't mean to do it on purpose. I'm glad the clerk pointed out. Why don't you come on up to the podium and give us your name and address, please?
My name is Tom Davis. I live at 7329 Bernard Avenue.
I am a ISA certified arborist municipal specialist, and I am working with the Tree Commission to make this a better community, a more livable community. I think perhaps you have the report in your packet. I give you time it takes to review it, nod your head, and then maybe I'll get out of your hair for a second.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, great. All right. For the last 2 years, I've been working with the Tree Commission to try to make a tree program get off the ground here. With the funding we've had, we've basically been planting 1-gallon trees, 2-gallon trees that are twigs in tree lawns. And this isn't in the report, but I just want to say that as a lifetime arborist and landscape person, you need to start with something bigger than that, or it dies. The deer eat it, the kids crush it, it just doesn't make it. So we're trying to work with that in our grant to be able to produce a better result there. All I'm going to leave you with is this thought. It'll take a couple seconds to read it, but I can read. I don't know if anyone here has seen the weekly TV show Shark Tank, made famous by a past president. I had a friend who had a successful life producing patents. He made an audience with the show Shark Tank to sell an invention he created. His opening for selling the product went well like this: I have an invention that is capable of scouring air and filtering it and storing the carbon. In addition to removing airborne elements such as carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrous oxide, it releases oxygen as a byproduct. Furthermore, it can remove petroleum byproducts from stormwater. By now, the panel was shaking their heads in agreement with how tremendous this machine must be. He further explained the benefits of this amazing product by saying, it uses the absorbed water from runoff to humidify the air we breathe, in addition to helping reduce home heating and cooling costs. The grand finale was when he said, this product is solar powered. With this statement, the panel was on its feet asking how much the machine would cost to manufacture. There were grins from anticipation on the faces from the panelists, who were more than ready to pony up. One of them demanded to know if there was a name for this amazing machine. My friend Michael panned across the panel and clearly stated, it's a tree. Trees are green infrastructure. I'm not a tree hugger. I understand what trees do for a community, and our community needs that help. We're in a financial pinch, and these organisms can help us to have a more sustainable, more livable life. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, I do have one, sorry.
Ready? Of course.
The wetlands, is that is that still going on the second Saturday in February?
We're on for this Saturday.
Okay, this
And-
Saturday.
Yes, sir, this Saturday. And I attended the Green Industry Expo at the Sharonville Convention Center. Ran into a guy who works for Davy Tree, and his job is working in areas where invasives have overtaken large tracts of land. And he is going to lend his expertise to this group.
Excellent.
Cost-free. He'll be there on Saturday with his chainsaw. I'm sure you will be too.
Okay.
And, yeah, we'll be picking his brain. So, yeah, I'm kind of like treed up, if you know what I mean. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, go back to my original request here to have somebody make a motion to move to executive session. Parsons?
I make a motion the council move into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22 G pound sign, G1, to discuss employment and compensation of a public employee, Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G1, and to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22 G2.
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Parsons made a motion. Mr. Cordell. George has seconded. It's a roll call vote, isn't it? Yes.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, council has approved moving to executive session. Following executive session, we will come back and discuss. Temporarily adjourned. We need. Which one are we dealing with first? Is there a
Do a motion.
need a motion to, what am I trying to say?
I make a motion that the city council approve the contract for, between the city and employee for termination of employment, and the city manager has the authority to execute such contract.
Is that correct wording?
Mr. Parsons has made a motion. Do we have a second? Ms. Lingo? All right,
Who was it? Lingo?
Ms. Lingo, yeah.
Lingo was the second.
Voice vote.
Would need a voice vote or just,
No, just a motion, it's just an aye vote.
okay. So all those in favor of said motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And the other item that we discussed,
It's on the,
we need a motion for that too.
to amend the resolution.
Yeah, we'll need to amend it and then pass it.
So we're gonna put in the amount up to.
Two. Where, oh, it's on the back here.
That's what we're doing, up to 150?
Yes.
In two places.
Yeah. Two places.
On a second whereas, and then on the back page, the very first line.
Okay. And the amount.
Okay, did we have, anybody make a motion on that, or we're just having general
Not yet.
discussion?
That was a general discussion. So we need a motion
I
to
need a motion
change.
from somebody to
I'll get it, Ross, in 1 second.
change the wording of the resolution. Resolution 24-1217.
Motion to accept with the corrections. We have to have two separate.
We need,
We need to publicly make the correction
yeah.
first.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
So we need
That's
to
on
make
the
a
back
motion
page, it's up
to
to-
make those changes.
And then a motion to
second,
accept
And then
with-
an aye, and then we'll need to pass it. Or I'll
Okay.
do the first reading, second reading.
Okay.
Do an introduction of the resolution and read it like
You
you
have to read it.
typically do.
First
Yeah.
reading, and then we make the changes.
Okay, we have a first reading on resolution number 24-1217. A resolution for the city to appropriate monies to Mount Healthy Community Improvement Corporation to promote economic development. Then we need a motion to,
First, let's do this. Let's do the change,
So we make
up to,
make the changes.
the change.
Yeah.
So
Resolution
I would,
24-1217.
yep, I would recommend on resolution number 24-1217, I think it's in two spots. I see number one. On number one, I would like, I'd like to change the city council for the city of Mount Healthy agrees to appropriate up to 150,000.
On the second page.
And
Whereas.
And a second whereas, there it is, that's right. Whereas, on the front page, whereas the city of Mount Healthy has requested financial assistance in the amount of 150,000, in the amount up to 150,000.
Wasn't
The CIC, I'm sorry,
as requested.
yeah. So I'll do that over. Whereas the city, the Mount Healthy CIC has requested financial assistance up to,
In the amount.
in the amount up to,
Of
okay.
up to.
Not. Of up to, yes.
You go to school in Mount Healthy?
No. I went to UC for a little while,
I went to.
straight from grade school.
we
Okay,
have
so
what?
now we need a second.
I did, I said second.
Here's the
You did.
folder.
Okay,
You're gonna second. Okay,
your motion is, you're done with your motion?
yeah.
Yes, sir.
You
Okay,
didn't make a motion, did you?
Yeah.
I make a
Yeah, we
motion
did
to
to change.
amend.
To amend, okay.
Yes.
You didn't hear that whole spiel?
Ms. Dosa has seconded the motion. And that would have to be a roll call.
To make the change.
I think that would just be
No,
a
it's
voice
just when
vote.
you do it.
Voice? Okay, is there any discussion? Everybody got those changes? Then all those in favor of said motion to correct the amount up to $150,000, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried. Then we still have to vote on the resolution.
I make a motion to suspend the two reading rule on resolution number 24-1217 as amended.
Okay, Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt,
To suspend.
to suspend. Do I have a second?
Joe.
Joe made a second.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, those two reading rules have been suspended. Any discussion yet? Questions? Then I would ask for a motion to adopt.
Make a motion to adopt resolution number 24-1217.
Okay, Mr. Young has made a motion to adopt
As amended.
As amended.
as
As
amended.
amended.
And I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. George is seconded.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, resolution number 24-1217 is adopted. That is the business that I know of at this moment. Is there any other new, no, we already done new business.
Yeah.
Council have anything else? Ms. Lingo has made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Ms. Rissel, seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.